I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies that I love, the alternative, B-rated, cult-style flicks. And this week, it was one of my family's favorite movies while I was growing up as a kid. Which, as an adult, I realize is very disturbing. This movie was released in 1994, and was written and directed by the legendary B-movie director John Waters, and produced by John Fiedler and Mark Tarlow. Made by Polar Entertainment Corporation, and distributed by Savoy Pictures and Universal Pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, Serial Mom. The movie opens telling us that this is a true story, which is not true. It is not a true story at all. It's just satire to how Americans love true crime stories. However, some of the ideas did come based on the crew interviewing jurors from other cases where other murders were taking place, and they took some of those and put them in this, changed names so they didn't have to pay anybody. Because while as John Waters is a great director, he's also cheap. Then we go to a wholesome, all-American family, the Sutphens, where Mom, Beverly, played by Kathleen Turner, is telling her daughter, Misty, played by Ricky Lake, to spit out her gum.
Misty, you know how I hate gum. All that chomping and chewing.
Yeah, well, some of us like gum. We also meet the son, Chip, played by Matthew Lillard, and the dad, Eugene, played by Sam Waterston. Waterston, Ricky Lake, John Waters. Only thing that could have made this more complete is if the soundtrack was done by Billy Ocean. Suddenly, they get a knock at the door from a couple of detectives.
Officer, I'm sorry, but we don't allow gum in this house.
Oh, yeah? Well, my gum is staying. The detectives are investigating for a neighbor named Dottie Hinkle, who has been getting obscene letters and phone calls. They think from another neighbor. I don't know if they'd really put two detectives on such a mild case, but whatever. As the detectives leave, Chip's friend, Scotty, and his girlfriend, Birdie, show up.
Hey, Misty, look what I got. Pee-wee Herman doll. Can you sell it for me at the flea market?
I'll buy it. Even if I do have to go to a flea market. Seriously, you ever been to a flea market? It's like Kmart in its dying days, but not as classy. Now that everybody leaves, we see how Mom fills her day by calling her neighbor Dottie and making obscene phone calls. Turns out it was her the whole time. Then she gets a visit from one of our other neighbors, Rosemary.
Did you hear about poor Dottie Hinkle?
Women are so catty. Then we go to a flashback and see exactly why Beverly has been harassing Dottie. Apparently, Beverly was waiting nicely and patiently for a parking space, and Dottie swooped in and stole it. So sorry, but kind of on Beverly's side now, Dottie. I mean, I've never had a man steal my parking space, just women. But I will say this. I know what it's like to have a friend betray you like that. I did have a friend, or a former friend, who I will never forgive. He stole my accidental curly fry. Now to a parent-teacher conference. Beverly goes to meet with Mr. Stubbins, one of Chip's teachers, who says that Chip is doing very well, he's a good student, but he's very concerned with Chip's obsession with horror films.
I'd recommend therapy for your son.
This was the early 90s, when teachers, faculty, and parents would actually be concerned about a kid because they're obsessed with horror movies. Nowadays, they're like, oh, they're obsessed with horror movies, and the parents are like, well, yeah, they got it from me. This does not sit well with Beverly. She follows Mr. Stubbins outside, and the final straw is when he puts a piece of gum in his mouth. But you need to get over it, Beverly. Some of us like gum. So, Beverly. Whoa! And then its flavor is gone anyway. And it turns out there was a stoner there watching this all take place.
Sickening, man. It flattened Mr. Stubbins just like a pancake. Ah.
Why is it always a stoner or something like that? Why is it never somebody witnessed it while they were reading a book? The next morning, they get a phone call from the Sterners. Eugene is a dentist, and they have a dental emergency. It is a Saturday, but it can't wait till Monday. So Eugene agrees to go and take care of Mr. Sterner's tooth. Downstairs,
I'm stood up. I'll kill that bastard.
Well, then you and your mom would have something in common. This conversation gets broken up by a knock at the door. It's the detectives again.
Did you drive your car to the PTA meeting yesterday, Mrs. Sutphin?
They suspect that Beverly is the one that did the killing. Mostly because she wasn't very good at committing that crime and covering her tracks. Pun not intended. You know what, never mind, pun intended. But they have nothing to go on except the word of a stoner. So they leave, and Beverly takes her recycling out to the garbage men, who share a nice little conversation with her and a couple of little alcohol bottles that she brought them, and talk about Rosemary and the fact that she never recycles. Ever!
Somebody ought to kill her. Yeah.
Over recycling? What is this, California?
For the sake of this planet, somebody just might.
So take it from Captain Planet, kids. Recycle, reduce, reuse, and close the loop. Beverly goes to visit Rosemary, who she's now plotting to kill, and Dottie is there. While Rosemary's back is turned, Beverly lets out a bunch of hints to Dottie that she is the one that has been harassing her. Then she smashes Rosemary's Fabergé egg and blames it on Dottie, who swears it wasn't her, it was Beverly.
Dottie, you could at least apologize. I collect Franklin Mint.
And see, Dottie, this could have all been avoided if you would have just let the person who had already been waiting take the space. At his dental office, Eugene gets a visit from the police. They are asking him about a bunch of murder books that they found in his trash, and then traced back to a bookstore that did confirm it was his wife that bought them, which is making them question it because she seems to be obsessed with murder.
Is your wife mental?
Oh, you have no idea. Beverly goes to the flea market to be with her daughter who is working there. And of course her daughter is still upset by being stood up by that boy Carl. And that boy Carl is at the flea market with another girl who doesn't really have a name in the cast but is played by Tracy Lords. My brother Josh is a big fan. However, by now, if you haven't guessed it, this movie reunites a lot of the cast from Crybaby. But no Johnny. Rosemary doesn't buy herself another Fabergé egg. She instead buys herself a fire poker for half off. I'm getting more and more okay with you killing her. She then goes down to sit with Beverly, who takes Rosemary's new poker and follows Carl into the men's room. Because as far as she's concerned, he's chopped liver! Or stabbed liver, whichever. Still good fun. After she leaves... Oh yeah, that totally looked like his real scream. Touche. When Beverly gets back...
You got some doo-doo on your shoe. Ooh. Oh.
It's not doo-doo, baby! Misty goes to see what all the commotion is about, and when she realizes it's Carl and that he's dead, she rushes back to tell her mother.
You got your wish, dear.
Not only that, Rosemary now notices that her poker has been used. So all in all, this is a typical day at the flea market. At home, Eugene finds Beverly's collection of serial killer stuff. Scrapbooks, memorabilia, and even some cassette tapes.
Beverly, it's me, Ted Bundy. It's lonely here on death row.
The voice playing Ted Bundy on that tape is the writer-director John Waters. During their family dinner, they start talking about the killings and the fact that Chip's friend Scotty thinks that Beverly is the one that did it. So Beverly decides that she's gonna go to the store. Who's next? Her family rushes to Scotty's house because that's where they think she's going. But that's not where she went. She went to the Sterners. Scotty was just having a quiet evening at home enjoying his night. If I was Scotty, Chip and I would not be friends anymore. And if I was Chip, Scotty and I would not be friends anymore. Back at the Sterners, Mr. Sterner wants to see what's up. Dude, you are a man. She is now unarmed. Fight her. But instead he runs away. As he's running, she throws the scissors again and misses again. So apparently she's not a very good shot. He runs outside and starts screaming for help, but she thinks he needs to cool off. That'll do. When the family gets home, Beverly has dessert.
Strawberries.
Okay, I love strawberries, and those strawberries look very delicious, but unless they're made into a shortcake, that's not a dessert. The next morning, as the family gets up and goes to church, the police are subtly waiting for them. But they don't arrest her. They don't have anything to go on yet. They're just all pretty sure it's her. So they follow her to church. On the radio, they're talking about the murders and how the police prime suspect is Beverly Sutphin.
God, now I'll never get a boyfriend.
Well, on the plus side, at least you have a subject for your talk show. While the Sutphins are in church, which, by the way, due to the content of this movie, turned out to be the hardest location for them to secure, the police finally get the go-ahead that they have enough evidence to go arrest Beverly. But while they go in to make their move...
Amen.
People always freak out when you sneeze on their baby. In the midst of the chaos, Chip and his girlfriend Birdie sneak Beverly out. And they know the perfect place to hide her, too. They hide her at the video store that Chip works in. Which in real life, this video store was John Waters' local video store. I miss video stores. But just then they get a customer, Mrs. Jensen, who wants to rent the movie Annie. And she's also returning a movie, Ghost Dad. But she didn't rewind it. And Chip informs her that there is a $1 charge for not rewinding movies. But Chip, she just watched Ghost Dad. Isn't that punishment enough?
Keep the change, you son of a psycho!
Video stores did used to actually charge you for not rewinding your videos. Which I never understood why that was such an issue with people. It's not like it's hard to rewind stuff. Heck, you didn't even have to use your VCR. They also had a little electronic device you could just take the movie out, put it in that, and start watching another movie right away. After Mrs. Jensen leaves, they realize so is Beverly. So they go after Beverly, with Scotty following them. When they get to Mrs. Jensen's, Scotty has the best view as Beverly beats her to death with a leg of lamb. Which is so very awful. Why would you waste such a great cut of meat?
Rewind!
You kids don't realize how lucky you have it. You don't have to rewind DVDs. Beverly notices Scotty, so she grabs a kitchen knife and runs after him. Scotty gets to his car.
Where? Your seatbelt! It's the law!
Yeah, and you are totally a law-abiding citizen. Scotty drives off.
Out, please.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a kitchen knife. It's not a gun. Just drive off. What, is she gonna throw it at the van? It's not gonna really do much. To avoid her, Scotty drives to a public place, a concert going on. Beverly follows him.
Buckle up, Scotty!
Right in front of everybody. And now you're an accessory.
You're under arrest.
As well as the lead singer, right? Now we fast forward 5 months to Beverly's trial, where Beverly is fixated on a juror. Juror number 8, to be exact, played by Patricia Hearst. First time I reviewed this movie, I got a lot of crap from people for not talking about Patty Hearst, so I will do that real quick. Patty Hearst was the daughter of a very wealthy man, and she got kidnapped by a domestic terrorist group. They held her for ransom, and then they didn't let her go, and they brainwashed her into helping them commit their crimes, like robbing banks and stuff like that. And when they finally caught up to all of them, she spent less than 2 years in jail until she was pardoned because she claimed she was brainwashed. This happened in the 70s before I was even born, and I didn't know about it the first time. So there. During his opening statement, Beverly interrupts her own lawyer. Really? Because of this, her lawyer starts going off that she is insane. So Beverly fires him and decides to act as her own lawyer. And how does she plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Well, here we go. Beverly makes quick work of all the prosecutor's witnesses, like Rosemary.
Do you recycle?
No. When they finally get a witness that Beverly can't discredit, it doesn't matter because everybody is distracted by the appearance of Suzanne Summers playing herself, and she's there at the court because she's playing Beverly Sutphin in the made-for-TV movie. So now the verdict.
We find the defendant not guilty of all charges.
Well, sure. Oh, they look excited. Definitely don't complain about the meatloaf tonight. Now that the trial is over, Beverly has something to discuss with juror number 8.
You can't wear white shoes after Labor Day.
We can wear whatever we want and chew gum. I just don't want to chew gum right now.
Didn't your mother ever tell you?
Juror number 8 pleads with her.
Fashion has changed.
No, it hasn't.
But Beverly doesn't pardon her. She goes back outside and Suzanne wants a photo op, but insists that Beverly stands on the left.
Suzanne Summers, this is my bad side.
Just then, someone finds juror number 8. Suzanne let her stand on the right. So there, but that's the cult classic, Serial Mom. Like I said, this was a movie that my family and I enjoyed very much when I was a kid. Gotta keep in mind, in '94, I was 11. But we took it for what it was. We got the point, even when I was 11, that the movie was basically making fun of the way we go nuts over these kinds of true crime stories in the United States. In fact, not that long after this movie came out, the O.J. Simpson trial happened. This movie didn't have very much success in the box office, as it had a $13 million budget and only did $7.8 million in the box office. However, I'm confident that they quickly made their money back once it got on video. Because I remember going to the video store and they were constantly low on copies of Serial Mom. Not to mention, it instantly had a cult following. Why? Because it's a great movie. In fact, to this day, John Waters says that this was his favorite of all the movies that he made. Keep in mind, he did some classics like Hairspray and Crybaby. Most of the critics and audiences did love this movie. Basically, everybody who watched it and gave it a chance and took it for what it was. Enjoyed the movie Serial Mom. And it worked out for Matthew Lillard because it led on to other things. This was his second film, but this was his first starring role. So think about that, kids. If it wasn't for Serial Mom, he probably wouldn't have been Shaggy in Scooby-Doo. According to Kathleen Turner, though, Michael Douglas, her co-star for the movies Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile, tried to talk her out of doing this movie, but she insisted she wanted to be in it. And good for her, because honestly, I don't know if anybody could have played this movie better than Kathleen Turner. Just like I don't think anybody could have played Chandler's dad better than Kathleen Turner. Believe it or not, though, Kathleen Turner was not the first considered to play this role. One of the original concepts was Julie Andrews, but she turned it down. And for a minute, the role was actually given to Susan Sarandon. But they couldn't come to an agreement on what to pay her. She wanted more money than they could afford with their low budget. Because whereas $13 million is not a terrible budget, it's not very great either. But that wasn't the only person that they considered for a different role. Will Wheaton auditioned to play Chip, but they gave it to Matthew Lillard. Which honestly, for that role, I could see either one in that part, but I think Matthew Lillard did a good job. But either way, this movie, you just gotta take it for what it is. It's not a mainstream movie, but it is a very fun movie. And it's a movie that is picking on people who get obsessed with these kinds of things that happen. These real-life tragic events, people go nuts becoming fans of it. And they do actually sell memorabilia to this stuff. I remember seeing somebody with a Scott Peterson t-shirt. That's kind of sick. Which is probably why I enjoy this movie so much more nowadays. So therefore, if you have not seen the movie Serial Mom, then I highly recommend that you go out and check out Serial Mom. It's a fantastic movie. In my opinion, John Waters' best movie. So there you have it. That's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications for when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of Serial Mom. Tell me which of the John Waters movies are your favorite. Love you guys.